Has Alek Manoah played his last game as a Toronto Blue Jay? Now, I didn't think this was a possibility a couple of weeks ago, but the situation that was already bad has gotten even worse. The two sides don't appear to be talking to each other. Someone is lying, so I'll break that down and much more on this episode of Jay's Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And before we get into anything, I want to apologize to Rentals.ca because it seems as though we're doing an ad read on every time we do a Manoah video, but Nick and I are super excited to continue our partnership with Rentals.ca. And if you didn't know, Rentals.ca is Canada's largest apartment hunting network. And to facilitate your renting needs, whether it be homes, condos, or apartments, they're available coast to coast in Toronto, Calgary, Montreal, Vancouver, Ottawa, Winnipeg, and Halifax.
Yeah, and the website's super clean, super easy to use, and very intuitive. And Peter, you've used this website, a few times. My brother has used it a couple times as well. And if you're watching these videos, they've been supporting us heavily, and it's something that, we can vouch for, which is very, very important. And they have a special offer for all you guys out there, all you Jays Digest fans, Blue Jays fans. If you want to have a chance to win free rent upwards of $2,500 for 1 month, check out the link in the pinned comment or the description, because like I said, we want to see one of you guys winning. And thank you again to Rentals.ca for sponsoring the video. It's been phenomenal. And Peter, like you said in the intro there, Alek Manoah, the situation is, kind of risen itself back to the news cycle, and unfortunately, the situation is not getting any better. It's actually getting a bit worse, and this dropped yesterday. Alek Manoah has received multiple injections in his pitching arm over recent weeks. His season is officially over, and we waited a day to cover this because we wanted to gather all the information. And after the game yesterday, Ben Nicholson-Smith went on to, Sportsnet and kind of elaborated further on this. Peter, what are your initial thoughts on this before I get into the deepness of the the article? The article kind of describes a few things there that is very, very scary, and I have some notes as well. But man, it looks like the sides are not close. They're not really talking, and they're definitely not on the same page.
This is not good. And I don't want to believe that Alek Manoah has played his last game as a Toronto Blue Jay, but as the days roll on here, it's looking more and more likely that may be the case. And we speculated earlier on in the season when Alek Manoah had all these struggles that he just didn't look like himself. And of course, maybe you could argue that he wasn't fully prepared coming into the season. He didn't take the offseason as seriously as he should have, especially after finishing third in Cy Young voting last year. You'd think that he wants to elevate and get better, but it seemed as though he had stagnated, and he kind of came into camp with the expectation that he would be the guy and didn't necessarily work for it. Now, that was my speculation, but also there was a big jump in his innings from year to year. Now, in 2021, he threw 111 innings, if I'm not mistaken. Then the year after that, he threw 196. So that's an 85 innings jump. That's a lot of innings that you're putting on a young arm. You're taxing him to a certain extent, and he seems as though he's a workhorse. He seems like someone that can go ahead and handle that kind of workload. But I guess not, because he looked tired this year. He just didn't look prepared, and his stuff just wasn't as lively as it was in years past. And hopefully he can get back to that. I truly believe that he's got that talent, and I truly believe that he's got that mentality in him where he can dominate hitters and where he can be an ace caliber pitcher. But he looked far from it this year, and I'm hoping that it's not a significant injury, but the fact that the Jays pitched him and he needed arm injections, just not a good look for either side, man.
Yeah, it's super strange. And if you delve deeper into the article that Ben Nicholson-Smith posted, he said the shots were intended to reduce the inflammation and discomfort for Manoah, whose 2023 season is now officially over. And this is kind of the side where, we're kind of talking about someone lying to a degree. While team doctors have found no structural issues, muscle damage, or ligament tears, the 25-year-old has continued meeting with additional specialists in the last month, and those visits with doctors continued with a view towards ruling out elbow and shoulder issues, as well as that syndrome there. And Peter, you can pause and read this as well if you want. Essentially, it goes over, the future of Alek Manoah, and essentially what, this kind of discusses is that he is going to be competing for a spot in 2024 after this season. But Ben Nicholson-Smith also went on, Sportsnet and basically discussed that the teams, this went about as bad as it could have for both sides throughout the season. The teams aren't really close. Who knows if they're communicating, and there seems to be some sort of disconnect between the Blue Jays team doctors clearing Manoah, saying there's no structural damage, and then obviously Manoah's side, Manoah's camp, seeking a second opinion, getting shots for his arm, which I believe Ben Nicholson-Smith discussed about how it has something to do, like it said there, his arm was very, very fatigued. It was very, very tired. But, Manoah clearly seems to think there's some sort of injury on the go. And one of the sides is either lying or not taking each other's word for it. So, like you said in the intro, this is getting, very, very bad. And I don't know. The sides just don't seem very close. However, there is still all offseason for them to work together. I'm sure at the end of the day, Manoah wants to pitch in the majors again. And hopefully he's doing everything he can to get to that spot.
Well, he'll definitely pitch in the majors again. There's no question about that. Whether it's for the Blue Jays or not, that's the real question that we should be asking ourselves. But if it's not for the Blue Jays, let's hope he has a rentals.ca account to go ahead and find a new arrangement to go live in the new city that he's going to be traded in. But it's just unfortunate that it had to go down this way. And he is someone with immense potential, at least in my view. I still think he's got not maybe Cy Young potential. Maybe that was his peak. Maybe we'll never see that kind of Alek Manoah again. But I do believe that he is a special arm and a special talent. He was a first-round pick for a reason, and he seemed to be generational for the first portion of his major league career. Now, for whatever reason, we can only speculate because the information has been very limited in this whole situation. We don't know if it was injury. There's obviously nothing structurally wrong with him injury-wise, but who knows? I've had some shoulder issues as well when I was playing, and while there's no ligament tears or anything that would rule you out from having a normal life from day to day, you can't really pitch to the best of your abilities, and you can't really play to the best of your abilities. So I'm not ruling that out for Alek Manoah either. I don't know who to believe here. The other day, I wanted to believe the Blue Jays. I wanted to believe that they were the ones that were in the right here, and that Alek Manoah was just not being a good teammate. He was not being a professional. But now, after this information came out in the past couple of days, I just don't know who to believe here, Nick. And it's a scary situation. It leaves you just wondering what's going on here as a Jays fan, because there is going to be an opening in that rotation next year. There's going to be a couple of openings maybe, because who knows if Yusei Kikuchi is going to perform the way that he did again this year. Who knows if Hyunjin Ryu is going to be back in a Blue Jay uniform. So there's going to be an opportunity for him to take a stranglehold of that fifth starter spot. Can he go ahead and do it out of spring training? I don't know. Will he even report to AAA Buffalo if he doesn't make the big league club out of spring training? That's another question that we have to ask ourselves. And this relationship seems to be fractured, and it may be fractured beyond repair, and that's a scary proposition for us Jays fans.
Yeah, and hopefully that's not the case. But like you said, it's all kind of looking towards that. And again, the Blue Jays don't really have a history of doing anything like this, which is why I kind of lean towards the Blue Jays side of things. But again, if you're Alek Manoah, maybe, he clearly doesn't agree with the team doctors to some degree, but a quick tweet giving some insight on this, and this was just a tweet that kind of blew up a little bit. It said, the newest Manoah info and speculation isn't that deep. If Manoah's doctors can make a case he was injured and should have been IL'd, and the demotion wasn't performance related, he can file a grievance for service time. The Jays and the doctors' stance is that it was performance related, and this is kind of the flip side of it, Peter, is, the whole service time thing, which Manoah's camp, I'm sure, is certainly... it gets Manoah more money ultimately. So I don't know. It's a very, very weird. It's just such a weird situation because the Jays, and this kind of circulated a bit, have no history of doing this. So I'm going to go on the Jays side of things for now. But I think at the very least, the situation was handled poorly by both sides. And whether, the team doctors are making a mistake or whether Manoah is just pushing for some sort of, be able to file for grievance, I don't know. But it's just the weirdest situation I can remember for someone who had really a phenomenal season last. It's the biggest collapse I can remember as a Jays fan, at least from an individual perspective as a pitcher.
Yeah, well, we don't know who's at fault here, but you never want to get to the point where you're just pointing fingers at each other and saying, "No, it's your fault. No, it's your fault." And that's the biggest issue here. Maybe there's nothing wrong with Manoah physically. Maybe he just had a down year and he couldn't recover mentally. That's another possibility. I think we may be reading too much into this. It's very possible that we are. But at the same time, when you have the front office and your supposed star player just pointing fingers at each other, it's never a good look on either side. And it's something that can't be happening.
Yeah, and it's something that we're going to have to keep, we've been keeping an eye on for it throughout the whole kind of saga here. I didn't think we were going to make another video on it until the offseason when we got more information, but clearly more information is coming out, and hopefully Manoah can figure this out. And I'm sure at some point we'll learn some more about maybe who's at fault, or maybe no one's at fault, and it's all a big miscommunication, although that seems pretty unlikely right now.
Let's hope so. Let's hope that's... case.
Let's also hope that the Blue Jays can take care of business tonight against the Tampa Bay Rays. And thank you again to Rentals.ca for sponsoring this video. Make sure to check out the contest that's in the description and the pinned comment. And make sure you sign up, as it helps us out a ton. But thank you guys for watching. Hopefully the Jays can take care of business tonight. We'll see you later.
Thanks.